Okay, welcome everyone to 2023, 7th January, nearly the month done and dusted. So we'll declare the meeting open. Disclaimer, members of the public are advised that recommendations to the Audit Committee contained within this agenda can be subject to changes. Applicants and other interested parties should refrain from taking any action until written advice is received confirming Council's decision with respect to any particular issue. Acknowledgement of country. The Shire of Harvey acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land and their continuing connection to the land, waters and community. And we pay our respects to all members of the Aboriginal communities and to their cultures and to elders past, present and emerging. Item 2, record of apologies and leave of absence. We have nil. Item 3, declaration of members and officers' personal interest. It's nil. Item 4, response to previous questions taken on notice is nil. Item 5, public question time is nil. Item 6, petitions, deputations, presentations and submissions. Brad, did you have a presentation? Nil. Item 7, confirmation of minutes. We have the Audit Committee meeting Tuesday 15th of March 2022 and the officer recommendation that the minutes of the Audit Committee meeting held on Tuesday 15th of March 2022 as attached be confirmed as a true and correct record. Councillor Beach, moving. Seconder, Councillor Dickinson. Any questions, any queries, Councillor? I'll put the motion. Is anyone against the motion? The motion is carried. Item 8, Officers' Report. Item number 8.1, Annual Report 2021 to 2022. Have an officer recommendation. Councillor Bromley.
I've got a question. Yeah, I just have a concern about some of the information being, or the wording being a bit misleading. If we could maybe clarify that more clearly.
Oh, sorry. Are you able to provide details of those examples so that we can...
Just that one on the Harvey pool.
So in regards to the information there is correct and factual. If you're requiring different information to be provided and updated in that report, we can do that.
Yeah, I'd like to see it more relevant, you know, like, it doesn't give the full picture of what's going on.
Yeah. In regards to the other recreation facilities, we've provided the budget. For the Harvey pool, we've provided the income. So would you be satisfied if the budget was provided instead of the income? Okay, we'll make that amendment.
Any other amendments councillors wish to make? Councillor Dickinson.
Yeah, when it's regarding the Richardson Road waste facility, in the first paragraph relating to that, and I didn't make a note of what page it was on, sorry, or point, but it's talking about a waste facility and you're not sure when you're first reading it what it's referring to, and then the second paragraph it refers to Richardson Road. So that maybe just needs looking at and tidying up so that we know which waste facility is being referred to. Yeah, I can go through it later if you want and find out what I mean. Thanks.
Councillor Campbell.
Thank you. Just a question about training by councillors. So I noticed there that some haven't completed all their training requirements, which are needed to be done by October 2022. So I know it's a sensitive issue, but I just wonder how we encourage councillors to fulfil that obligation. And I suppose what happens if they don't?
Thank you, and through the chair. I understand that after the closing period for this annual report, a number of councillors who were behind actually did complete their training, and that will be reflected in the new annual report. Frequent emails are sent both from the administration and WALGA in terms of completing those blocks of study on time. There isn't much the administration can do in terms of imposing any harsher penalties on councillors that don't complete them. But yeah, there was, I think, 1 or 2 councillors who did complete them in the following year, and so I believe that most are up to date now.
Oh, good. Thank you. It's just that that'll go out to public, unfortunately.
Okay, are there any other questions or queries? Someone happy to move the officer's recommendations with those changes? Councillor Dickinson, second Councillor Campbell. Put the motion. Is anyone against the motion? The motion is carried by absolute majority. Okay, item 8.2, receipt of audit report and audit findings 2021 to 2022, Office of the Auditor General. We have a officer recommendation. Councillor Bromwell.
Going through the officer's report, there were several recommendations in relation to processes and procedures that we didn't do that need to be implemented. I just wondered, are we actually moving to ensure that all those recommendations are complied with?
Thank you, Councillor. Through Mr. President, the audit report was an exceptional audit report. Very happy with it. There's always something that's picked up by the auditor. We always endeavour to have those areas rectified for the following audit. And when we get to the next audit, the auditors will have a look at their notes from the previous audit and see how we've progressed in relation to their recommendations. Keeping in mind that the audit's not a short audit, it's over a week we have to live with the auditors as they go through every facet. So really the things that I have highlighted, quite minor. The only area that was significant was in relation to the Harvey Regional Council, and really it's just having that agreement in place that we're on the same page, whether it's 40-60 split or whatever it's going to be. So yes, to answer your question, yes we do. We do make changes. We rectify anything that's raised by the auditor, or we debate with them as to why we've done it.
Just to supplement you, do we get a report from yourselves later on in the, do we get a report later on in the year of those things that are done so we know they're actually being completed as we go?
We typically don't, because that then comes up through the next audit, whether we haven't completed it or not. Excuse me. So one of them, for example, might be staff taking leave. That may always be an issue. If you want, we can bring that up at a following audit committee meeting, council meeting to let you know how that's going, but typically that's reassessed at the following audit by the auditors, rather than us just saying that we've done it.
Okay, thanks. I'm happy.
Happy to move. Councillor Brown.
I've just got a question.
Councillor
Thank you, Mr. President. Just in relation to that comment about the 50-50 with City of Bunbury, where are we actually at with that negotiation? Because it's been raised a couple of times, and I think my records, if it's right, it was first raised in about 2021 that we need to start pursuing that, and we're still nowhere further down the track with it. So I'm just wondering what the status is on that.
Yeah, thank you. So we've had a couple of meetings with the City of Bunbury already. In their offices, we've met at the conference, face to face, discussing the issues of the Bunbury Harvey Regional Council, and with that split, they have taken to council, as you're aware, their council a 50-50 split, and for it to be anything other than that for them, obviously they'll have to go and change that with council. It's something that we're just going to have to come to grips with them. We did offer to have our auditors, the OAG, involved in guiding us as an independent third party as to what they believed the split should be. Then at the 11th hour, the City of Bunbury said, "Oh, let it lie, we'll have a meeting later and see if we can work it out." So we will end up, I believe, having to have an independent adjudicator, if you wish, to help direct us on that.
I think we need to, particularly with next year's budget coming up, and there's, I think in the draft budget or whatever, there's that shortfall that's been identified, because we've worked on 45-55, now you're looking at 50-50, so there is an expectation from the City of Bunbury that we're going to make up that shortfall. Is that correct?
Maybe I can clarify that a little bit. We were looking at 45-55. We are now looking, as the Shire of Harvey, as a 40-60 split. The area where it's 50-50, that's in relation to stuff that we can recoup. So if it's a loan that we're going to have those funds recouped, then we're saying, well, let's be 50-50. And going forward, we're going to end up being bigger than Bunbury anyway, so it's probably not a bad thing. But for the historical items, probably not 50-50. But again, we'll need to have that debate. And can I just add that normally the auditor won't get involved in these sort of issues. The auditor likes to stay independent and just review the result. In this instance, they've actually said that they're happy to be involved as giving advice. So they obviously see the tricky issue between the two local governments. And yeah, I guess we're going to have to bring it to a head.
So, sorry, Mr. President, so moving on from that point then, is it worthy of us as the Audit Committee recommending a third party be looked at or considered in relation to being able to come to some agreement between the two parties? Obviously it's been going for some time, so can we put something down as the Audit Committee, make a recommendation that we go to a third party in order to resolve it?
I think either way we have to bring it to a head. I think that can only happen if we have a third party. So it's probably not going to make any difference whether you include in the recommendation that we do that, because I think we're going to have to do that either way. And if you do include that in the recommendation, City of Bunbury is still an independent party that either can or may not agree to that, because they're obviously not bound by our recommendations. But I think either way, to bring it to a head, that's going to happen. I can't see any other way that we're going to have an amicable solution. I don't know, the CEO might have.
No, I agree, and we had discussions with the City of Bunbury in regards to engaging somebody independent, because obviously we're at a stalemate They have their council resolution and they're standing firm by that, and we also have our interpretation, so we do need that adjudication so that we can get a result for next year's financials.
So raising it as a recommendation here will serve no purpose, won't assist in any way, or in the administration side of it? Or we leave it in your capable hands to move forward?
We will follow up, but
okay.
if you wish to move an amendment to that motion to put it in, it will, yeah, we're happy with that as well.
Do you have a confidential item coming up for the council meeting?
I know I've got a few other questions.
If you want to raise that as part of a...
Would that, yeah?
In that?
I'll be guided. I don't know. I'm just floating it because if it assists the administration in order to move forward, then I'm happy to move an amendment. But if you feel that it will achieve...
Well, the other area is we need to revisit the Constitution, and obviously it's all going to form part of that.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, if it gets to the point that we need to have a third party and they aren't agreeing to it, or we need a recommendation, you can always raise it at that point as well. But totally, this is your meeting, whatever you want to do.
Councillor Brolin.
Yeah.
Thanks, sir. I just wondered if we've sought any legal advice on the issue.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. We have on 2 occasions. The legal advice that we've received has guided us as to who's responsible for remediation of the site, and in both instances they'll say it's the 2 local governments and the Bunbury-Harvey Regional Council. Where it gets a little unclear is when it goes to the Bunbury-Harvey Regional Council, if they were to fold up, then how is their proportion dealt with? So there is still some grey area in there. So to answer your question, yes, we have. It's probably more pertinent to receive accounting or auditing type advice.
On that basis then, I want to move an amendment that we seek a third party, or words to the effect, I don't know, third party assistance in order to resolve this this issue. I don't know how you're going to word that.
Seek independent financial advice in relation to the reporting of the HRC equity.
It's just the 2 local governments to determine the equity split.
The council request receiving on
It's interesting because the actual
independent financial
documentation for the Bunbury-Harvey Regional Council makes it very clear both councils' own responsibility.
Yeah, but it's
And
It does, but it doesn't deal with the split.
No. We only have 2 councils out of 3. They're always the chair.
so
You could never vote.
Just probably like the general discussion. Councillor Beach.
Yeah. Just a question on the amendment and the split between the Shire and the City. Given what Mr. Winter said about the unknowns with the Regional Council, would they need to be included in that as well? Or is that muddying the waters a little bit?
This equity split relates to how the asset of Bunbury-Harvey Regional Council is reflected in the financial statements of the 2 member councils.
Okay, the 45,
Yeah.
55 bit. Yeah,
in
okay.
regards to the Constitution and how it guides the operational costs and capital costs to the member councils, that's sort of a separate issue.
because that'll have to be dealt with as well. If it goes 50-50, then we need equal representation.
Yes, and we're sort of in a state of flux in regards to Harvey Regional Council as to the amendment of the Constitution, or looking at future arrangements for that Regional Council, which was probably best part of the confidential discussions at Council.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's the original motion. Yeah. So the mover, Councillor Bromham, for the officer's recommendation. Have a seconder for that? No, Councillor Lovett. Now the amendment. I'll move Councillor Campbell, seconder for the amendment. Councillor Bromham. So I'll put the amendment. Is there anyone against the amendment? Amendment's carried 6-0. Now becomes the substantive. Okay, so I'll put the motion. Is anyone against the motion? The motion is carried. Thanks, Farah. Okay, item number 8.3, procurement audit report update. Okay, any questions, councillors? We have an officer recommendation. Councillor Dickinson, have to move. Seconder. Councillor Bromham. Any discussion, councillors? I'll put the motion. Is anyone against the motion? Motion is carried. Item 9, matters behind closed doors, is nil. So item 10, just before we close the meeting, congratulations to Councillor Crispin, who holds the between 25 and 34 age group. He's holding the fort up down at the bottom end. We're just sort of lagging a bit between the 18 and 24s and the 35 and 44s. So we've got every other age group covered. So there we go. Well done, mate. You get the boiled lollies for today. Before we close, just thanks to everyone within the team that have put this together and for last year's work, and power on through. So I'll still wait for that presentation, Brad. I'll put that on the back burner for you. Okay, no further business to discuss. We'll close the meeting at